Morning stout.
We're rolling on iTunes. We've got the candle. We've got the window open.
This might be your vibe.
What's up?
The Sunday morning stout from Weyerbacher.
From the library.
Massive BBA stout with coffee.
I gotta be honest.
Barrel
I've sort of
aged.
been not on the stout train as of late.
Oh, really?
I got on the
Dude, it's 12.7.
that Bearded Iris Homestyle IPA, dude.
You're getting into
It
IPAs!
tastes like an orange juice. I'm like into IPAs hardcore.
Oh, bless.
Like
Everybody I know, except for you now, hates IPAs.
yeah, I'm like
With like a burning, glorious passion.
I can't do stouts as of late. Like every time I have a stout, I'm like I just wish this was an IPA.
It's because it's summer.
But just like in general, like even like in the winter when I had one, I was like, yeah.
Man, I love Bearded Iris. We should go to the brewery next time.
I would love to do that. Gear Season 2 Episode 2, let's go! Roll the intro. Hey guys, I'm Jason.
I'm Gideon.
And this is Gear Hangs. Gear Hangs. Gear Hangs.
Gear hangs.
We're back, y'all!
Gear hangs. Gear hangs.
Gear Hangs. Gear Hangs! Gear Hangs.
Here we
Welcome
go.
back, everybody. The intro is rolling right now. We're just vibing.
Mm-hmm.
JK.
Drinking some coffee. What is this today?
Dude, today we're drinking an El Salvadorian from Topeka. I assume that's how you say that, but I'm sure somebody can correct me. From Tulsa, Oklahoma. It tastes sort of just like peanut butter, which I'm really into.
Yeah, it does.
I love it. I think it's great. This is my boy Gid here. Gave me a firebomb wedding present of a coffee subscription to whatever that thing's called. I don't remember. Misto Box. And so every month
Get you some.
there's a bag of coffee that shows up at my house. Not sponsored, but could be. Misto Box.
Misto Box.
Could be sponsored.
Could be sponsored.
Talk about kids as Gid.
Just saying, you should join their subscription. It's pretty sick.
Dude, it is pretty sick. I've been enjoying it. Thanks for...
Hashtag still not sponsored.
Yeah, that was a great wedding gift though, so thanks for that.
Cheers, man.
Dude,
Appreciate that.
cheers, man. Ooh, I just cheers you with my handle. That felt
It's kinda
sort of weird. Yeah.
That was my fault. I'm just trying to like show off the Country Boy logo.
Dude, Country
Also
Boy.
not sponsored.
Also, but could be.
But
should be.
Could
Dude.
be. Dude, those biscuits though.
Dude, they're fire.
Woo!
This is,
Oh, man.
yeah, I don't know where I got this mug from, so.
Yeah. What?
Just kidding. I do know where I got this mug from.
Wait, where'd you get that mug from?
Well, it's got a chip in it, dude.
Not sponsored, but
Yeah, but could be.
could be. Get you some.
Dude, season 2. It's been going really great so far.
Episode 2? Yeah.
Yeah, we've had
2
lots
episodes
of
in.
lots of fans and just people loving it and basically
Stopping us on the side of the street.
dude, basically gear royalty at this point. But,
Honestly, like.
you know. Lol. Dude, what was that? Oh, okay. So I wanted to start this episode with like an icebreaker, which is totally not related to what we're going to talk about today. But we chatted a bit about it earlier, but your desert island pedal.
Ooh.
What would be the one if you had to have one? What would it be?
This is all assuming that I have my Desert Island amp.
I'd say maybe we should do desert island rig, guitar, amp, one pedal. 2 pedals, tuner and a pedal. Tuner doesn't count.
Tuner doesn't count. Okay. Guitar. The Veritas I have.
Wow.
Just hands down, it does everything that I want it to do. And
Cool, man.
I'm a telly guy. I just am.
Mm-hmm.
So, just done. I would take that.
Great.
I would take a vintage deluxe reverb.
Wow. Okay.
Because tremolo and reverb on board.
Yeah.
And it breaks up like I want it to.
Yeah, if it all works, yeah.
If it all works.
But yeah.
And then this is like kind of not really obscure if you know me at all, but I think I would take the Titan 2, the fuzz pedal.
Yeah. I love that fuzz, man. And I don't
Guys-
really like fuzz, but I like that fuzz.
Because I would literally be able to get everything I wanted out of that. I don't necessarily need the delay. I like it.
Yeah.
But, like, I would rather have a good tremolo and a good reverb on board an amp, and then have a sick fuzz pedal for
Totally.
And they have slide, of course. But
Yeah, dude.
that's it.
Cool. For me, I don't know. I feel like a discontent, privileged tool for saying this, but I want to build, dude.
Wait, do you want to build?
Yeah, I've wanted a build for a long time. I don't know if I've said that on the show. I probably have
A
before.
couple times, I think.
Man, I've wanted a build for like the past
2
two
About 2
plus years, I think, and I'd probably rock a build, and I sort
You
of
guys guess what color?
I
Pause.
sort of know.
Put it in the comments below if you can guess what color his build will be.
Yeah, I won't say a color, but I sort of know what configuration I would want. I'd probably do the Zaftig, which is like the big kind of semi-hollow, like
That's right.
yeah, it's like sort of a Starcaster meets Jazzmaster meets whatever. I don't know. It's kind of it's sort of its own thing, but yeah, it's semi-hollow.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's super cool, but I'd probably rock it with the Jazzmaster pickups, the single coils. The more I play this Jazz, I love it, but I'd want to get the Lollers because I think they're a little fatter than like mine's sort of stratty, my Jazz is, and
Yeah.
I'd want like a better in between. And I think the Lollers with that semi-hollow like fullness thing going on, like they'd breathe well and have good low end, and I think it'd be cool. And I would be borderline like maybe do a middle Strat pickup just because middle pickups are fun sometimes.
Just for the heck of it.
Yeah, like there's one on Reverb I've been watching for a long time that has that configuration.
Still there.
Still there. It's all white, maple neck, block inlays, mastery trim and bridge. Not that I've looked at it, it's fine. Bound neck. Oh, the glory.
So we got the guitar.
Yeah, I got the guitar. I'm sorry, I'm mumbling, but got the guitar. Man, pedals. I'd probably rock a delay, and honestly, it would probably be the L cap.
There it is.
It'd probably be the L cap.
That was my second option.
Because one, it's got the spring reverb on that secondary function, which is cool.
Yeah.
I just think it fills everything out so nicely, and if I've got an amp where I can rock drive, then I'd be good. And assuming on this island I can turn my amp up as loud as I want to, then
absolutely.
I'd probably rock my Bandmaster. I think it sounds awesome. I think the drive tone is what I'm into. So that'd probably be my desert island situation.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, dude. Alright, so speaking of vintage deluxe reverbs and bandmasters and things of that nature, today
That went to our topic.
yeah, we wanted to talk about vintage gear, guitars, amps, like what the reason I sort of thought of this is I posted a video on my Instagram of my Bandmaster just like basically dimed, and I was like, yo, this amp sounds good, blah blah blah, and some guy messaged me and was like, what's your opinion of the like VM, the vintage modified Bandmasters, the new ones? And I'm personally like, I don't have a great opinion of those. I've never played one, but like when I think about the price and the fact that like I paid $550 for that head, like, and it's an actually like original blackface, it's sort of like, why would you not do that? But then it had me thinking about like, you know, I think it sounds awesome, but you sort of, when you buy vintage gear, you sort of have to know what you're looking for. You have to know what you're getting into, because there's kind of a lot of like unexpected little thingies. I don't know, you have quite the story on that Silvertone in regards to that, and I had I guess let's go through and just like list some of the vintage gear we've owned, and then I'd love for you to dive into like that whole nightmare of a guitar.
But it's cool.
It's dope.
It's
right?
a sick guitar.
There's positives and negatives, but I guess I wanted to talk about kind of the bad sides of it for some context of
You gotta think of like all the vintage gear I've actually owned.
I haven't had a lot, but
Me either.
I've had a
I
couple.
honestly think it's just these two.
Well, the projector I would put in that camp.
Yeah.
I mean, that's from that time period at least.
Yeah, same. Okay, yeah, that qualifies. But it was upgraded. Anyways. Okay. First piece of vintage gear I ever bought was this guitar right here. It's 1959. It's a real 1959 Silvertone U1 that's been heavily modified. Set this down here. So, what I mean by heavily modified, I mean like new tuners. Put this pickup in here and then a different switch system, and we actually unfortunately had to player the fretboard.
So what does player mean for
Playering-
all of us non-educated?
Playering the fretboard means we took Well, here's why we had to do it. This guitar is literally beat to heck. In the back, lol, good silver one. Don't judge. The back of this neck literally has chunks missing out of it. And right here, there's a crack. And whenever they fixed the crack, they did it wrong, causing, like, this is actually still bent a little bit, but down here it doesn't quite fret, and it's not intonated right. And it's still kind of wonky a little bit, but the only way that we were going to be able to fix this guitar was to play the fretboard, and what that meant was fixing the twisted neck. It's like mildly warped, but fixing it in the frets. So what we had to do was take all the frets off, and we actually had to shave away some of the wood to flatten it out.
Yeah.
That sucks a lot if you know anything about these guitars, is that the bodies are full hollow, but they're made of masonite, which is like this crappy, like,
it's like
cardboard.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a crappy cardboard
I mean, it
guitar.
feels it's light, right? Isn't it?
It's super light.
It's like literally just like nothing.
It's amazing. But since it was made in the late 50s, the fretboard is Brazilian rosewood. Which is like pretty illegal. But awesome all at the same time. Like this piece of Brazilian rosewood, I don't even know how much it would go for if it was by itself. It would just be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still have the original bridge on it. I changed out like this piece of wood here to just just regular rosewood. But it's the Jerry Jones intonated to help with intonation, because every time I change strings, the thing like moves.
Oh, you got it intonated to help with intonation? Imagine that.
Yes.
It's dumb.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. But yeah, it's cool. But it took a lot of time and a lot of effort to get this thing going. But like all this was actually brown when I got it. Like I've done all this stuff to it, so it's fun. It's good. And you can't even actually, there's these chunks, you can't even feel them when you're playing.
Yeah, maybe at the end of this we'll take some close-up pics of that and I'll throw them in just so we can see.
Because it's like...
Cause it's hard to see, but...
Yeah. But even that, like I don't know, it's cool.
I think it's interesting too how these, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but like the tuners hang off the edge of the headstock.
There's the only tuners that I could find that would fit this, but it's sharp right there, so if I want to stab somebody, I can.
Yeah, dude, that's what it's all about. Someone on your worship team not cooperating, just stab them.
Just stab them, yeah. Just get out of the picture.
Just quickly run down the mods that you've done on that guitar.
Mods on this guitar. So this guitar only comes with one pickup, and it's the lipstick pickup right here. I had a buddy route out the guitar a couple years ago and put in this P90, which he placed way too close to the bridge.
It's real close to the bridge.
It's like almost touching.
I was wondering if that was intentional or not.
100% an accident. But it's perfect.
Yeah.
It was one of those like happy accidents where he was like, I put that too close, and I was like, honestly, it sounds fine.
Yeah.
Like the guitar is so dark that it lends itself to having to being that close.
Totally.
New tuners and then a 3-way switch.
Swagger Lego. What kind of pickup is in there?
Original lipstick and then the Lindy Fralin vintage P90.
Cool. That's dope.
Yeah.
And then you can see we've got this here old Silvertone vibe in here.
Dude, they did it right.
Man, this stuff
Sears
is cool.
did it freaking right. I'm just saying.
Yeah, this is Gid Silv 2, in case anybody's wondering. Because Gideon's a tool. But...
Ouch. I think Jason sent this to me late one night.
Dude, I was like geeking over these amps, and still am for a long time, because like, in
cool.
my mind there's sort of 3 camps of amps, and yes there are more, granted, but my broad overgeneralized brushstroke is you've got your 6L Fender camp, you've got your EL kind of Voxy British camp, and then you've got like all this weird vintagey stuff that, like, granted, like the Supros and this stuff sort of fall in that Fender, yeah, it is sort of in that Fender-y kind of plexi type camp, but it's got kind of its own sound, these small box ones do, and so I tend to think of those as kind of their own thing.
I like to define that sound as awesome.
Yeah, nice. That's great. It's like a time sort of Tweety, but like they're just not as well built as the blackface like when I think about like a deluxe reverb, but like that like adds to the sound. If
They
that
were
makes
cheap.
sense.
They were meant to be cheap
Yeah.
amps, and back then they were.
Totally.
Now they kind of are, ish.
Yeah, just for reference before we jump into this, what did you pay for your U1 when you bought it?
When I bought it without any of the mods or work done to it, I paid $429.
Great. Okay. And then this guy, I remember I set this to get in like really late one night. I used to have a real like reverb addiction problem, and like
Still do.
no, for the most part,
I'm still pretty bad about it.
Okay, you might be, but I'm like significantly better about it. Mostly because I just don't have time or the money, so I just try to stay off of it. But there was a season where like I was just on reverb and sending, but could be.
But if you're watching this,
I know, please. But anyways, I sent him this link to this guy, and I think it might have been $300 or $350. What'd
I
you
paid
pay?
exactly $300.
$300, and
Free shipping.
I don't know if you guys
Okay.
can see, but it is spotless. This
There's
is
a couple nicks in
like,
it that I've done myself.
it is so freaking clean, and sort of like, and I guess the lesson here, and we'll like go into it, is like even stuff that looks really clean, and when you first get it is really clean. Oftentimes, old pieces of gear will just need work. Period.
Here's the thing though, this was all original when I got it. It had the 2-prong cord. The only thing that wasn't original about it is that there's a switch on the front that somebody had cut in to allow access to the on-off switch quicker. Instead of it's on the back, but they just wanted it easier, I guess. I don't know. So I had it came with original tubes. I changed out one of the, this is super nerdy. I changed out one of the 12AX7s from a Sears like GE 12AX7 to an AmperX that Jim had just lying around.
Of course, Jim had one of those lines.
Well, he didn't know that he had it. It was sitting in one of like those old projector amps that was sitting on his shelf that doesn't work. And I was just like looking at it one day, and I was like, I just brushing off the dust, and I was like, Jim, do you know what this is? He goes, no, and I was like, come with me. And I just put it in there, and he was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, dude.
So now I've just lived in this amp. But yeah, this amp is literally awesome. It needs work now. I had the 2-prong replaced to a 3-prong to make it safe, because I would play it because I wanted to play it because it was new, and I played it with just plugging direct in, and since there was no ground, some electricity goes through the guitar, so the strings would shock me if I touched anything else, which is very dangerous.
Quite.
Could kill you.
Yes.
But now it sounds great, but over time I knew that since it was all original, it needs to be recapped.
Yeah.
Which is not expensive.
Well, yeah.
That it is going to be expensive.
Depending on the amp, yeah.
It'll be about $400.
And that's something. $400 to recap the amp. Where are you taking your amp, dude?
Huh?
Oof, that's steep.
I asked 3 people around town. He was the cheapest.
Yeah.
And the best.
Dang, dude. But yeah, I mean that is probably what you're gonna pay there, and that's kind of what I want to get into, and I'll talk about my experiences with vintage stuff in a sec here. But sort of like, especially with these amps, when you're looking to buy something old or vintage, and I'm classifying vintage as anything pre-1980 right now in my head, which like
in 2020 it'll be 1990. It'll jump.
Yeah, like
which is so weird.
Arguably, like in my mind, I'm thinking like 70s, 60s, 50s gear is sort of in my head. But like when you're looking for these amps, like something, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. For us, we want to play them, right? We don't want to collect them.
Usable stuff.
You know, so the guys who sell all original amps, like that's really great, but you've got to see that when you buy an amp from that era that's all original, you are automatically putting in 500 plus into that amp, like just period. Like
you're gonna have to.
You're just gonna have to, and so like it's important when you're looking for those amps to look for the ones that have already had those things done. So I've had 2 vintage amps at this point. I've had a 1973 Deluxe Reverb, and now the 67 Bandmaster. I sort of bought the Deluxe Reverb. I traded for it, but that was dead stock, like factory tubes, cord, caps, speaker, everything. I was like, man, that's really awesome. Plugged it in, sounded awesome. It sounded great. But then at a show, it died on me. And I was like, what? So I took it to this guy, and I ended up sort of getting ripped off, but I think I paid $600 maybe to get it fully recapped,
Is that guy shopping
retubed. I don't know, dude. He on the door he had a like business accredited thing from 2012. I was like, sweet. And just a couple buddies had recommended him, but I will never go back to that shop. And I don't. Honestly, I'm totally drawing a blank on the name. It's probably for the best.
For the best, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I can't remember his name either.
if I think about it, we'll totally throw some shade later, but not really. But anyways, I ended up having to dump a bunch of money into that amp, and then like even later on, I had to dump more because on the May tour, on the January ones, the first show I plug it in, and this is the dumbest story. I'm just an idiot, but one of my power tubes.
No, you gotta tell the whole story. I'll tell it.
No, I'll tell the story. It's fine. I was gonna say what the problem was and then go back, but I guess I'll.
Okay.
Anyways, I plugged it in and it just like was crackling and it sounded like one of my tubes had been fried, basically. And I was like, frick, like this is the first time I've toured with, well, just toured period, but toured with vintage stuff, and I was like, oh no, like this sucks. What's happening? Brought it home, like. Called Gid when I got home and I was like, dude, you gotta come over and like just hear what's going on, because I was about to take it to like a new tech who now is kind of my guy and he's awesome, but and
it's so funny.
It's so dumb. I was like freaking out
it's
about
so
it.
good.
Gid plugs in and he's like, have you looked at your tubes? And I was like, yeah man, I just like don't know what's going on. And Gid like looks in the back and just reaches back there and pulls out, and one of my power tubes just fell out. It was just in the back of the amp. Right, so I didn't really know what I was looking at. There's vintage, especially
They have two power tubes.
especially the deluxe reverbs, and I know
There's
that, but
one.
there are so many freaking tubes because of the trem is tube powered, and
But those are all 1287.
I know they are, right?
Oh
but
my
in
gosh,
when I'm
this is so
stressing
funny.
for sound check, like
Oh, yeah,
on a
I
show,
know.
I'm like, what's going on? Like, you know.
Oh man. It's so funny.
But all that to say, like, you buy a matchless or any new amp, and you're not gonna have tube sockets that are worn out that will just like let an amp or let a tube just fall out. Right, so that's another thing. So I had to go and get that fixed. I had to make sure that had him rebias it because I was trying to play it with one power tube, which is scary. And I'm really lucky that something didn't go wrong with it.
Yeah, I can't believe that didn't like blow up.
You know, so I bought the amp originally for like $800. Like it was a trade a trade plus cash that like I had $800 in equity into it basically, but then I ended up dumping $600 into it, which like was too much. But I loved the way it sounded and I think it sounded great. But I ended up selling it because for a couple of reasons, but mostly because I think the speaker was about to blow. It just was getting flubbier and flubbier, and I was like, man, I don't want to have to look for a vintage speaker, and I don't really want to replace it with something new. And so I was like, I'm just going to get rid of this before something else happens to it. And ended up getting all of my money back, actually, and I made $100 on it. I think I sold it
Sold
for...
for 900.
No, I sold it for 14.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, luckily I
Nice.
sold it to some kid in Franklin, and that's a whole nother story. I was a douche about that. Like, not intentionally, but just like... When you're selling an amp, y'all, don't play it right before you sell it, because you're going to find a reason to love it. And I plugged it in right before he came over, and then I was like, man, I can't sell this. So he showed up, and I was like, dude, I can't sell this. But then a couple weeks later, I was like, hey, man, I'd love to sell this to you, and I made good on it. But so then, anyways, when I was looking for the Bandmaster, I learned just a freak ton about vintage amps because I would, do just trial and error. And so this guy knew exactly what I was looking for. I wasn't going to mess with anything original, and I was looking specifically for someone in the description in the last 5 years that's how to recap or retube, the bias, and the power cable upgrade. This amp fit that bill. It was a 67, paid $550 for it, local Nashville. Found it through Reverb, but local picked it up, and it's been dead rock solid. I haven't had a single problem with it. It sounds amazing.
Sick.
It sounds dope.
So
So
you want
it's
to hear it? Peep season 2, episode 1. Because we play at the end.
Yeah, we do. And actually,
Then hit like and subscribe.
episode 3 guitars, or maybe amps of season 1, we played the deluxe reverb
And the projector.
and the projector.
Mm-hmm.
So you can hear those. But man, that amp sounds amazing. But I think I won because I knew what I was looking for this time, and I didn't before. And so to answer that guy's question, I guess you messaged me on Instagram, like, you can get great deals on vintage stuff, and like really like the thing about vintage
Take your
stuff,
time.
it's like a used car. It's like take your time, and like in the same way that a used car, like the lowest trim level and the highest trim level on a 10-year-old car isn't going to reflect a price difference. Like that Bandmaster, I could have just as easily bought a Bandmaster for $600 that was completely dead stock, or like had one thing done but wasn't done right. Like having these recaps, retubes doesn't really add value to the resale. It just like adds
Reliability.
yeah, like it's something that makes me want to buy, but it doesn't add value as a seller. Just like having a road case for an amp, people try to do this all the time. It's like, oh, I've got a road case, so it's worth more. Like, it's really not. It's a better reason to buy, but it's not. It doesn't add value to your amp. Like,
Yeah.
So that being said, man, just take your time on that stuff. And then my Gibson, I suppose, is sort of vintage. It's really not. It's too clean to be vintage. Like, it is. It's a '77, but
Counts.
man, it is so freaking clean that like it doesn't feel like it.
That guy never played it.
No.
There's no way he played that.
No, he didn't. But it's a good guitar. But I don't really have anything to say about that one because it sort of just works.
Yeah.
It does what it does.
Cover it a lot in most episodes.
Yeah, we've talked about that one a lot. But man, is there anything else we want to say about vintage gear?
Stuff.
Do you have any like vintage pedal stories? I know you had some issues with. Was it the VB2 or the DC2 or?
Oh yeah, I do have some vintage pedals.
Which,
I always forget that I actually have some cool stuff.
yeah.
Like
When you just actually have cool stuff.
well, because when you use it all the time, you become.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
You become what is it? Help me, brain not working.
Numb
used
to it?
Yeah, numb,
Yeah.
numb to the idea that you have cool stuff.
Totally.
But yeah, I do own a couple vintage Boss pedals. I have the VB2 and then I have the DC2. But
Which DC2 is one of my all-time favorite pedals, and I was low-key pissed when Gib bought that, and thankful because I finally got to play one. But
and you can still use it.
I'm mad jealous of that pedal because I've since like high school, man. That's been like the one
It's a cool pedal.
because I've always hated chorus because of how like wavy and like it is.
But that one's not.
But that one's like dead still, and like you get the sparkle of the chorus. It's sort of like the same thing that high band flanger does.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that just like adds that sparkle, dude. That I would love one of those pedals, dude. And those ones aren't outrageously priced at all, but anyways.
But yeah, so the DC2, the guy, I messaged him because it is vintage. I asked before I bought it. I messaged the guy, I was like, hey man, does this pedal function as it should? Because like, especially for something like that where you don't have knobs or anything, it's just switches. I was like,
Yes,
I want to
buttons.
know if all of these work. And he's like, yeah man, I plugged it in today and it's great. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I bought it. I think I paid $234,
Nice.
which at the time was a good,
Yeah,
pretty good
that's
price.
not a bad price.
$230-ish. It was around there. But I ended up getting it in the mail. Super stoked. Haven't bought a vintage pedal like ever in my life. It was the first one. And I plug it in, it doesn't work.
Mm.
And I'm just like, I'm freaking out because I'm like, did I really just get scammed out of this much money for this thing that's like gonna be impossible to fix? Which it wasn't. But so I plugged it in. I called my buddy, and I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on. I called Paul because he's the pedal guy, and
Paul
Spears?
runs what company?
he runs two companies. One is called pedalrepairs.com. Send him all of your broken stuff, and he will fix it and send it back to you.
That's why.
And then he has another company that's not quite launched yet.
But what did the one that he
He used to do Warrior Effects.
which you've probably heard of. Yeah, he's got
he's-
something new coming that we don't need to talk about yet until it's
Yeah.
happening. But
It's called Southern Pedal Company.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But he was amazing. I called him and I was like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I called Matt Hoops too. I was like, hey, what? Like, how do you? I thought it was like a power issue.
yeah,
I thought I was powering it wrong, which it does take a weird
what is it?
8 volts, something. It's like something just random. Yeah, like
Dude lies, bro.
I don't know.
don't
But
know.
I made sure I was powering it right. I like did a wall wart vibe and
Mhm.
made sure that it was all right, and then still didn't work. So I ended up shipping it to Paul, and he looked at it, opened it up, and there was like one specific part, which was, if you know anything about pedal parts, saying that this little part was $5 for this one little thing is outrageously expensive. Like, most little parts are like 10 to 30 cents. This was a $5 part that he had to replace. Which, I mean, like, it's $5. To me, it's like, okay, $5 to get this thing working. What was nice is that I messaged the guy and I was like, hey man, I've gone through everything. I've called 2 people. I called my pedal guy. Like, the pedal doesn't work. It's going to need to be repaired. I need to pay for the part and the bench fee.
Yeah.
Can you refund me X amount of dollars? And he was like, dude, I'm so sorry. Absolutely. He sent me the money back, which was sick.
That's dope.
Well, I also added in there because I didn't know this guy, and I was like, I mean, like, I don't want to go through the eBay stuff. I just want to like solve it here and not worry about it.
Yep.
And he's like, dude, totally get it. He was super chill about it, which was awesome. So super thankful for that. But yeah, one small snippet that I thought was really interesting. So Jim and I both have the VV2. On my board, I have it just in my chain and it runs like normally. He has his on a looper. And I asked him why, because I was like, do I need to like invest in one of these loopers just to have this there? And he goes, well, I only really have it for clock noise, which is really interesting because I plugged his has clock noise, but mine doesn't.
Spooky times.
Vintage stuff, man. You never know.
That's true.
How it interacts with other pedals.
Yep.
Yeah.
Straight up, man.
Anyways.
All that to say, y'all, is that you can get, you really don't have to pay outrageous prices for like the original sound. You just gotta find things that, like if you want a Blackface Deluxe reverb, you're gonna pay a lot of money for that. But like,
actually, not that much.
I mean, like,
prices have gone down.
Like $2 to $3 grand. Where are you seeing prices?
1,600, my dude.
For deluxe reverb, I've seen twins for 15.
I found a couple of 65 deluxe reverbs the other day for $1,600, $1,800.
Okay, well, I'm gonna buy one of those. I don't believe Gideon, but if there are, then we're gonna go. He's gonna show me these links when we're done with this episode. But
on Reverb,
I've always seen them for like $3 grand. But anyways, like you can find things like Bandmasters is a twin circuit in a head.
That Craigslist
like
vibe.
There are things that you can sort of these silver tones and things that you can find that sound great that are the sound that everything's modeled after. And like you don't have to settle for reissue stuff. So, to each their tone, I suppose. So dumb. Let's go ahead and plug up this little Silvertone guy and do some junk. I guess I'll play the 335 just because it's old and Gid will play his Silvertone and we'll rock and roll. Let's do it. Mark Agnesi here in the back room. Woo! I'm going to just put this cord right across my lap. No, it's on the edge. Alright, so I got a 77, 335. We're going through Gid's Silvertone. 1482, and here is my clean tone. Tone all the way up. It's sort of just like a muddy, fuzzy mess of a thing, but it's cool, man. It's the vintage vibe, That's probably good for me.
Sick.
I'd say.
Keep it rolling. This. It's like these guitars were made for each other, or this guitar and amp combo. Because the low.
Yeah,
It's just
that's dope.
it has so much chime too through that. It's just like. Oh, it's been a while since I've played slide. But with the P90, it's still. Chimey, but then the middle position's kind of quacky. Cleans up so well too. Right there. And the onboard tremolo, it's just like a little secret.
Yep.
Vintage stuff. Don't sleep on it.
Don't sleep on it.
Don't sleep
No.
on it. It's really good.
Is that it?
Let's do it to it. We're done.
Swagalaga.